Buongiorno, Nifties. Benvenuti a Nitty Nicole. I am Nicole. Mi chiamo Nicole. And we are a crafting community. So grab your work in progress, also known as a whip, and let's get started on our 10-minute crafting break. I am continuing to work on our decade-long baby blanket, and I am still working on the second row of the white, the second row of the second repeat of white. And I am drinking my favorite pour over coffee in my Eeyore cup. You can't really see it, but it's too full to tip too much. Ooh. You can kind of see it still says the struggle is real, which I think is funny. Excuse me, that was a big. What sound is that? I don't know, but it's the sound my body makes when it's so happy with something I drink. And I think it is just nice because I kind of feel like I've been so busy and rushed lately that I have not been able to just like sit at home and have my favorite pour over. I started my videos in the summer and they were just a little bit more relaxed. I mean, it was something I wanted to do every day, but I was able to upload them and then also like put my little Instagram post of my progress. And unfortunately, it just hasn't happened this week. But I am today going to post on Instagram after I get back from church. Today at my church is a special it's a special ceremony, not ceremony, a special service, and they call it homecoming. And so after the summer, I'm gonna have a little bit more coffee. After the summer months, because they know that people travel for summer, and if you have kids, maybe you do something over summer break. And then not only that, but maybe you do family reunions or just whatever you do over the summer. And then in September, usually the first weekend of September, and I guess that's why we're here, they have something called homecoming. And homecoming is just where they, welcome everyone home to church, to your church home. And I actually no longer go to this specific church, the church that I went to just for so many years. There are some difficulties there that I am still working through, but I do feel like going to homecoming, and that's exciting. And then my son is going to have a little friend over, and we had planned on kind of getting together earlier in the day, but then I texted the friend's dad and told the friend's dad that, oh, we're going to go to church, and then I'll pick up my son's friend after that. And then he was like, oh, well, my son wants to go to church with you. And I was like, oh, okay. And this little boy, he's so sweet. He's not a little boy. This preteen young man is just so sweet. And the model of school that my son went to is, it's really special. It's called a bilingual immersion school. And in that school, they speak a target language everywhere. So for instance, his is a Spanish English bilingual school, and like all the office staff speak Spanish, and all of the custodial staff speak Spanish, and of course all the teachers speak Spanish, the principal speaks Spanish. And so it's like being immersed in a little Spanish community school. And then so when they start in kinder, they start with 90% Spanish and only 10% English. And then every year they add another 10% of English, so that by their sixth grade year, the school goes to sixth grade, they're about 50-50. But if you don't keep your child there for all 6 years, then they won't have enough English instruction to pass the California state tests. And so you sign when you start your kid there. First of all, there's a lottery because it's a public school. So there's a lottery to get into. And I didn't even win the lottery. We had to like fight for it. And I'm so glad. But then we did eventually get accepted for a kinder class. And we signed that contract that said, oh, well, we're going to keep our kid there that whole time. And some kids do move on, you know, like sometimes the families move out of state or something like that. And then very seldom we'll get a student that comes from a Spanish speaking school, like a Spanish speaking country. And then those kids can sometimes join depending upon what, where they're at in the Spanish English kind of continuum. But originally there were like 60 kids in the cohort, so like the little group, and I want to say like max 2 or 3 kids came, and I want to say maybe like 10 kids left, and it's because their families moved away or whatever. But this little boy that we're having, not little boy, this young man that we are having over to visit for today, he has always had like the sweetest little heart. Like he's a little bit of a troublemaker, but I think that's funny. Anyway, but he always has been just like really sweet, caring, and like always asking like you know, I'm a mom, of course, and I'll go to the school and he'll always be like, "Hi, Blank's mom." And some of the other kids, they see me and they'll kind of like a little bit like smile at me, but they won't actually be like, you know, a full greeting, like, hello. So I think that's cute. And then he'll like yell it like from far away, which is part of his troublemaker aspect, right? But like we'll be, you know, 5 classrooms away and he'll be like, "Hi, Blink's mom." So I think that's cute and that's funny. And then just the fact that he wanted to go to church, just I think is really sweet. So I'm happy to take him. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I think I shared with you that I am going through perimenopause. And I guess the official definition of menopause is if you have not had your menstrual cycle for a year. But I actually did not have my menstrual cycle for a year. And then last month, all of a sudden, I had it. So I thought, oh, I'm in full menopause. But I was not. At any rate, and perhaps part of the reason I had my menstrual cycle again is because I have started taking hormone replacement therapy. And I definitely know that there are some, I forgot to set the timer. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. I'm getting better at feeling it, at feeling the time. Let me have some more coffee. Anyway, so I started hormone replacement therapy, and you know, there are some risks to hormone replacement therapy, especially if you have maybe a history of cancer in your family, things like that. However, for many people, oh, also if you have a history of difficulties with your heart, and so, you know, you should definitely talk to a doctor who knows your history about it before you, you know, think about it more. But I did, and I was prescribed it, and so I feel so much better. So before I was taking it, I could really I just had enough energy to do one thing a day. So I would only plan one thing a day. Like for instance, today we're planning on going to church and then also having a friend over. But before I started hormone replacement therapy, I could either have the friend over or I could go to church, and that's all I had like the social energy to do. And I used to think that it was because I was just becoming more and more introverted, or just recognizing my introverted self. You know, I thought maybe I had been in denial in the other previous 50 years of my life. Not 50, because it's been like this for maybe a year or two. But that I had been in denial those other 40 years about my social battery, because Especially, look, I have a whole channel here and I talk to you the whole time. So I'm a little bit of an extrovert, but it takes me a long time to recoup. So that's why I feel like, oh, I am actually an introvert. Like I'm a social introvert, but I'm still an introvert. But now that I've started the hormone replacement therapy, I realize, oh, I was actually just exhausted. I was just exhausted because my hormones were all out of whack. And so, and then this was more apparent because, okay, I started the hormone replacement therapy. And then when I picked up the prescription, which was for 1 month, because we were trying it, like just to see if it was good for me, if it worked for me, if I could tell anything was different. And then they asked me at the pharmacy, hey, do you want automatic refills? And I said, yeah, I think I do want automatic refills. So then after the month was up, I called the pharmacy and I wanted the automatic. I was like, well, is my prescription ready to pick up? And they were like, oh, there was a problem. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I wonder if I've been showing you or not. Okay. Anyway. And they said, oh, there was a problem. And so I couldn't. And then it was last weekend. And there was, last weekend we had a holiday here in the US called Labor Day. And so then the doctor's offices weren't open because it was Labor Day and it was not an emergency. And I get it. And so I didn't have it. I missed about 3 days, which is not, a ton of days. I was able to get my prescription and it all worked out. Thank goodness I do have insurance and thank goodness I do have, enough money for my medicine because there are so many Americans that don't. And so I am really grateful for that. But I immediately felt this week has been so hard for me. And it has been a tough week, like it has been. But the past month or so that I've been taking this, the hormone replacement, that I've been using the hormone replacement therapy, I haven't felt that things were just so hard, like kind of defeatingly hard. And I think that it is the hormones. And so if you are a person that is thinking about it or a person that knows someone that might be going through this, please encourage them to look into it. I definitely would never recommend any medicine for anyone else, but I definitely think that, I had heard about the negative aspects of it, and so I was a little bit against it, but then when I actually did my own research, just like so many things in life for women, the negatives were actually based on fake research. And research that was not thoroughly, fully evidence-based. And that's the difficulty. The sample size wasn't big enough. They definitely didn't account for all ethnicities and age groups and, just a variety of things that made it not as efficacious as it should have been, that we all are, making big decisions. And so my quality of life in this past, and last night I went out. So yesterday we had soccer game and last night I went out, which I haven't really gone out in. I'll force myself out, if it's someone's birthday or something, I will force myself out. But last night I wanted to go out with my friends. They invited me and I actually said yes, even though I had gone to the soccer game. And that's like 100% increase in quality of living. Right? Instead of doing one thing a day, I can now do 2 things a day. That's 100% increase. And in addition, I still did other things like cook. Before, cooking was one of the things I could do. I can also, I also did a little bit of work, not a bunch, but I did do some work. I made a video, even though I didn't finish it, everything. But I'm able to do these things because of the hormone replacement therapy, I'm sure. So, like I said, if you're ever thinking about it or if you know someone who's thinking about it, look into it. At any rate, Nifties, if you have enjoyed our 10-minute crafting break or feel just a little bit more peace, please like and share. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think, what you've heard about hormone replacement therapy.